Alright, to start this off, we're going to start with Multiple Man himself, Jamie Madrox. We're going to have 4 copies of this one, which is Me, Myself, and I. So he's got the X Factor Investigator symbol. It's an instant card, and it costs 4. So it gives you 2 recruit. It says Tactical Formation, 4/4/4. Draw a card. Play another instant. You can clone. If anyone gets mad over something you did, just blame it on your clones. So the thing is, if you play one instant card and you get a set, now you can clone this. Now you can get one of the other copies, which gets you another one towards your 4. So in itself, it can feed its own tactical formation ability, which is very Multiple Man. He's also going to get 4 copies of Finding Myself, which is a text card. So it also costs 4, which will work with that. It gives him 1 attack. Investigate for a card that has the same card name as any of your cards. You do not need to choose a specific card name before you investigate. If you play a tech card, you can clone this one as well. So it's a really neat investigate, because basically look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and be like, yeah, I have one of those cards already. Boom, you can pull it out and use it. So that, again, it works really well with that other formation ability. Then he's got 4 copies of Perfect Match, which also costs 4. See a little theme here with him. You get +1 for each card name that you play at least twice this turn. He has 1 attack and he has clone. So he's, I mean, it makes sense. He's leaning hard into the clone ability. And playing cards of the same name, because that's his whole entire gimmick. Doesn't really have a lot of attack, but you could potentially, with that investigate ability, and, you know, get into play some stuff, you get some other good card draws, you could definitely get some power out of this. So then now we're going to look at his ultimate, and he's going to have 2 copies of this. So he gets 2 copies of Reabsorb Duplicates. Which is Tactical Formation 44, which with this set with him, not going to be very hard to get. And they KO a card from your hand or discard piles. They're great, so you can get rid of stuff you don't need, maybe get rid of a wound you have, or get rid of some of them shield agents, so Multiple Man can just focus on drawing himself. And if you play another X Factor character, you can clone as well, and he has 2. So now it's a little bit. Usually I kind of like the rank, or like at least decide if I think these are powerful or not. It's a little bit more difficult, because most ultimates usually cost like somewhere between 6 to 8 on average, and they usually have a recruit or an attack that is very powerful, or they have something that gives a big giant ability. This honestly, honestly for a card, it just seems like another kind of like one of his other ones. I mean, great. It's awesome, though, he has the ability to get rid of stuff. By playing 2 cards, you can get rid of stuff. But 4 for 2, that's the average. Cost 4, does 2 damage. That's pretty typical. And then the fact you can get rid of stuff is actually a nice extra ability. So, like, compared to other, like, unique, like, the ultimate cards, this isn't, like, super overwhelming, but it also costs half as much. It's definitely feasible. Plus, you're also gonna most likely, if you're playing all of this one team, you're gonna get that effect every single time, which is very powerful. All right, so there's our first character. There's Multiple Man. Up next, of course, we have to look at his best bud. We're going to look at Strong Guy, Gildo Corsola. I just butchered his last name. It's like Corsiella. It's yeah, I'm not sure. So we get 5 copies of this, because this goes back to the regular format. Of course, he's going to be a strength hero. It says X Factor Investigations. He gets 2 recruit, costs 4. Investigate a card gets a strength or an X Factor character. When Golgo asks questions, he always gets answered. So right here, you get 2 points. That's awesome. You get an Investigate, you get to draw another Strength card, which is going to work really well with his stuff. Or you get an X Factor character, which again with him, or if you're playing this as a team, Plus the 4s are going to work really well with the multiple man cards. So it's a good tie-in all around for that. For being a more expensive card. You're also going to get 5 copies of his other common, which is Absorb Kinetic Energy. So his mutant power, if you didn't know, is as he gets hit, he takes any type of damage, basically. Kinetic energy, any type of thing. Physical, laser blast, whatever hits him, he absorbs the damage. He still feels some pain. So it's not like he's not like immune to stuff. He's not like bulletproof or anything. He can, he's bulletproof. Not so he's not bulletproof. He's not invulnerable. Like, he can take damage. He can get hurt. But as he gets it, he absorbs the energy into him, and he can increase his size. But he has a limitation to it, is he has to release that energy within a certain amount of time, or it sticks in him, and it kind of just becomes his new form. Which is why his body is so kind of deformed. Why he has like huge chest muscles and arms. Because when he was a kid, like, I don't know, he was a teenager, he was like 13 or something, I don't know the exact age, he got, kids were bullying him or something happened, he fell in front of a bus or a car, and he absorbed, that's when his mutant power kicked in, and he absorbed all the impact of this, and he grew to this incredible size, but he didn't know he had to release it, so he's been living in this constant giant form that he shouldn't have had. Like, that's not his natural look. He's not a bodybuilder. Like, he absorbed all this power, and that's why he looks that way. So that's kind of where his ability comes from. But here's a 5 cost, does 3 damage. If any player would gain a wound, you may discard this card instead. If you do, draw 2 cards. So you can avoid that wound. Basically, he can take the damage, and you get more 2 cards, kind of showing that he's absorbing that power. Then his uncommon, he's going to have 3 copies of Go Big, which is another strength card. He's all strength. Tactical formation 4/4/5. You get +3 attack, otherwise he has 2. That doesn't work. Try a new plan. Go way bigger. So this is also another 4, which will work again with multiple man. Plus his 5 will help get him in there. You just got to find some other characters with 5. So you can get that more regularly, but realistically, if you have 4 costs to basically do 5 damage, is really powerful. Then his ultimate, which is more of a traditional, also strong. This is called Treasure Hunt. So it's 8. It does 3 damage, which isn't very good for an 8 cost. But it says investigate for one of these options, then a different option, then a third option. So that's what makes this super powerful, because you're going to get to draw 3 extra. You're going to search the top of your deck for 2 cards. Search for 2 cards to pick one of these, either a strength card, an X Factor card, a card that costs 4, or a card that costs 5. All 4 of them are definitely going to help out with him, because they'll get any of his cards. Extra 4s for multiple man, help with his stuff, or X Factor to maybe get one of them, or the extra 5 to get his other formation, or again, there's the other characters I'll definitely work well with. But basically, you investigate, so you draw 2 cards, like the top 2 cards, pick one, and you choose which one of them you want to look for. You find it, or if you don't, then you can recycle your cards. So if, like, let's say you start with strength in the top 2 cards, one of them, neither of them are strength cards, but one's costs 4. The other one costs 3. So then what you could do is you could keep the 4 on the top of your deck, put the 3 one back on the bottom, investigate the second time for the 4. Now you know there's a 4, you're going to draw it. You don't know what the other card is. The other card's nothing that helps you. So you can shove that one back on the bottom, then you look at 2 brand new cards. Or if the first time you draw one, you get one of the cards you need. You go, sweet, draw that. You can, if the other card you need, sweet, you can leave that on top. If not, so he really gets to dig around and find what he wants. It's actually a really awesome card. It's not a lot of strength, but also the fact is you could potentially get 3 cards. You could also get 0 cards as well. which would really suck, make this card very weak. But if you're getting 0 cards because you're not finding any of them 4, then you're not building your deck right. Because if you're building a strong guy deck and you buy this card, you assume you're going to have stuff with those in there. Unless you're only drawing shield agents, which could happen. And if you're only drawing shield agents, then fine. I guess you wasted this card, you get 3 damage. But now if you've gotten rid of 6 shield agents to your discard pile, your next turn is going to have all really great cards. So, in that sense, it could do really well. So let's look at the last male member of X-Force. Not X-Force, X-Factor. We have Richter. So you get 5 copies of his uncommon. I can't remember his last name. Richter. It's not, no, Richter's his last name. It's Julio Richter. If I remember right. Boy, here comes my terrible comic book knowledge I should be better at. So he has a range card, so we haven't had any range cards yet. Underground Caving. 3 costs, does 2, pretty common. Play another range card, you can shatter a villain in the sewers, which is really helpful for early on, especially costing 3, so you can get this really quick. If you get another range card. What is interesting here is they're using this look from the Messiah Complex time only, and not his current look in the comic books from the House and Power of M and Dawn of M series, where he becomes basically a druid with Apocalypse's help. I mean, it's cool that they're using an old version, but sometimes these cards, they'll mix and match different versions of the character. So it's interesting that they only chose to go this route and not his other one. I mean, it's not even like going back and using pictures from his old original X-Force days. It's only from this one time. So it's kind of cool. Or interesting, at least. Alright, so his other one, his other common, which you get 5 copies of, costs 5. So this will work well with Strong Guy's one ability. Unearth Telepathic Powers. It's an instinct card. Investigate for a range or an instinct, which helps both of his, but he only does 2 damage. But getting to investigate for 2 different copies of a card is really strong. Few understand the vast forces underneath their feet. Alright, then let's look. And if you didn't know what his powers are, they are, he can create seismic waves. Basically, he can, like, shoot vibrations into the ground, and create mini earthquakes, or shock waves. He can aim them he usually aims them at the ground. He could potentially aim them anywhere he wants, but then if he aimed them at a person, he would probably kill them. But he also has a very high connection to theirs. Like I said, he later on becomes a druid type character because he has a strong connection with the earth. So he kind of almost, he doesn't quite become like an Earthmancer, but I think he's kind of in that vein of heading that way. So here is the 2 other X-Force characters, or X-Factor characters. Trace the Fault Lines. Cost 4, does 2. Recruit. If you have a range, you can investigate for a card that costs 0, KO it, or discard it. So it's a good way to just get rid of some cheap cards you don't want anymore. Plus the 4, again, there's that theme with the formation. It works really well. And then his ultimate, which is Massive Earthquake, which costs 7. Shatter the Mastermind, or shatter all heroes currently in the HQ. Cutting a Mastermind's health in half is phenomenal, because there's a lot of times, some of them, they have like 10 or 15 health or 18 health. If all of a sudden you cut like, even if they have 20, you cut it down to 10. 10 is very manageable to probably get lucky to get without having to hope for a super combo. But yeah, that definitely, or if you're fighting like, imagine like hitting Galactus. Galactus or Thanos, I think, have like 24 or more. Yeah, you could really take them out a lot quicker with that, if you have all the right cards. If you don't, like, you're not like, I can't defeat them. You can at least then shatter all the heroes in the HQ, and then everything's half, and then maybe you can buy 3 or 4 cards that turn. The only downside really to this card is if you play it, and you don't have any recruit points, then the second one's basically useless. And if you don't have enough attack, then the first one's useless, because it has no other abilities. So if you don't have high enough attack or enough recruit, like you draw this with a bunch of like low-level cards, or a mixture of half and half, this could basically be a completely useless card, unfortunately. But that's, what do you do at that point? Alright, so now we have 2 more ladies to look at for X Factor. We have Siren. So this is the daughter of Banshee. This is Theresa Cassidy. Yeah. So she has same powers, basic same powers as Banshee. She has a Sonic Scream, which she can use in various other ways. It's not just a yelling, just straight up yelling. She can, like, as like this card says, she can use it for echolocation. You're gonna get 5 copies of that one. This is a covert. This is our first covert character. This only costs 2, because you always need some of them low cost cards to help you out. When Siren needs direction, she just calls ahead. So 2 does 1 damage. Choose a hero class. Investigate for a card of that hero class. So maybe not as powerful to be able to look for 2 different ones, like Richter had. But the fact you can choose what you're looking for. So if you've only been making a deck with 1 or 2, or if you've done a previous investigate with somebody else and you know what's on top of your deck, you can specifically choose what class you want. You can find what you need. Or if you get like a teleport, or something like that, where you put it back on top of your deck, then you already know it's there. Or using Spider-Man cards to look at the top of your deck, like Wall Crawl, putting it, when you recruit it, you put it on your deck, stuff like that. Some good combinations there. You're also going to get 5 copies of Hypnotic Call, 4 for 2. So you play a covert, shatter each hero currently in the HQ whose printed cost is 2, 4, 6, and or 8. So just the even ones, so it's not as, like, compared to Richter's big one, where it does all of them. This only is going to possibly do half of them, and only if you play another card. But it's also not nearly as expensive, and it at least does 2 attack. So no matter what, you're getting 2 attack. You might get an extra bonus out of it. Her uncommon is going to be the 3-octave... Oh, now I'm going to mess up this word. I know this word, but my brain doesn't like it. I'm going to skip it before I really destroy it. I love this picture, though, where she's screaming right off the page. This is our range card. Tactical Formation, 2, 4, and 6, which are her 3 other cards in this one. Shatter all villains. It does 4. This is actually super powerful. You don't want to hear her hit that high note. Yeah, a little bit harder to pull off because you have to have 3 different cost cards. But with the investigate abilities in here, you have a good chance to find them. You just gotta strategically build your deck. There's a lot of 4s. It's just the 6 and the 2s are a little bit harder to come across with these characters, because I don't think anyone else so far has had a 6 or a 2. No, so far out of the 4 X Factor investigators, she's the only one with a 6 and a 2, so you kind of have to, if you're only playing with them, you have to build her around herself. But to shatter all the villains and have 4 means you could easily take out an 8-cost character or less, or multiple 2-cost characters. Yes, that's pretty cool. And then her ultimate, which is has to be cool. Splintering Shriek. Costs 8, shatter the mastermind. KO up to 2 cards. KO up to 2 cards in your hand and or discard pile. Yeah, so Richter also had Shatter in the Mastermind, and then he had another ability. This is hers, she has the same thing. She can shatter that Mastermind, which is incredibly effective. But then you can get rid of cards. So like his potentially let him buy cards, hers lets her get rid of stuff, which works well to help maybe structure her deck a little bit better. If you want to try and get that, like maybe even buying other cards, but you need to hit that 2 and 6 a little bit easier to get your Shatter in the villains. This could definitely help with that, because maybe you're normally only going to get rid of your shield agents. This could also help you get rid of, maybe you bought a 3 card and you're like, I don't really need that anymore. Yeah, I think it's powerful, but without the extra thing, it's going to rank a little bit lower. So our last X Factor character is M. So she's the only one that's not part of the original team. She's originally part of Generation X. So this is actually interesting because they have her in her Generation X costume, but then her abilities all reference her later abilities during, like, you see more during, like, the Dawn of X series, where, which I know it came before, she found out these abilities before, but it's where she can do stuff with her 2 sisters, Claudette and, oh crap, what is her name? I can't remember. She has 2 twin sisters. So M has a very weird backstory. So this is Monette St. Croix, and then she has 2 twin sisters who, her brother M-Plate, who's the Generation X villain, kidnapped her, turned her into Penance, who we'll see in this card. Trapped her in the Penance's body. So her sisters use their mutant ability to basically combine together to become M, and took her place, so that way her family wouldn't know she was missing and stuff. And then later on during the Generation X series, they found out that's what happened, and then they swapped places so that M took back her regular form, the sisters took place in the Penance body, who can't talk or anything, so it's kind of weird. And then at some point, and I haven't read this, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but basically they freed her from the Penance, and then M now has the ability to turn into the Penance form. So I think she kind of merged with her sisters, I think is what happened. And she can kind of like swap between all these different forms. Anyhow, so yeah, it's just kind of odd because, like I said, Richter only had the Messiah Complex costume. She has the costume from Generation X, but then she has the abilities from after Generation X. It's kind of weird. Alright, so 3 sisters combined. She has more strength cards. She has a 3. So when recruited, you get to clone. If you play a strength card, you get to clone. Draw a card. And then tactical formation 3/3/3, you get 2 attack. So just off the bat, doing nothing else, you get to draw a card for 3, which is okay. Potentially you're going to get an extra 2 attack, but drawing a card, you can also get one of them extra 3s. Which is not a lot in the other set outside of her. All her cards are 3s, which helps. But that's where that clone ability will come in. Alright, so let's look at our next card. Just get some Covert. Uncover family secrets. 3 costs as well. To recruit when recruited with a red card. She has to clone. Investigate for a card that costs 3. So this will definitely help her funnel that. Lots of characters, they work very well with themselves. It's just the whole point of the game. But you get other characters and other outside exports, some of these characters could become really powerful. So we got 4 copies of each of them. We're going to get 4 copies of her other one because she's a clone character. So when recruited, clone strengths, you're going to have 2 of those now. So the Penance form. It's just your diamond hard skin, razor sharp claws. So she gets 2 attack. If you have a wound that is in your hand or discard pile, KO it and get +1. Otherwise, gain a wound. I like these characters that have the ability to either get rid of wounds or gain a wound and then later get rid of them. Because wounds normally are supposed to be really bad, but it's always nice to at least every once in a while have a character that has a way of getting rid of them. We have a strong guy that can go away and negate them. She gains power from them. So it's actually really cool. Then her ultimate card, which we have 2 copies of as well, is Interweaving Powers. So her power set is freaking crazy. She's super strong. She's super intelligent. Not invulnerable. She can fly. She has at least low-level limited telepathy. Like, she's not like as powerful as like Emma Frost or Jean Grey, but she does have it. And then she can turn into her penance form. I'm sure she probably has some other abilities that I can't even think of right now. But this one also costs 3, gets you +2, so again, that's common for that. But as for an ultimate, she recruits when you use an X-Force character, so any of her cards, if you're playing in this deck, she's always going to have recruit, which is, always have that clone, which is really nice. And then tactical formation, 3, 3, 3, 3, you get +3. So hard to get out, but it gets you 5. So it's I would say this is on the lower side of the cards because it's a really 3 for 2 is nice in itself, but as an ultimate card to get a clone, you can keep finding more copies of this card. That's great. But you're loading up your deck then with this card to get 5, whereas you could probably spend other cards to get 5 just as easily. But definitely awesome. I mean, the clone ability is a new thing. Alright, for our one and only X-Men character is we have the Stepbird Cuckoos. So then these have the clone abilities, so you're going to have 4 copies of this card instead of the 5. Stepbird Cuckoos, the clone thing, they are clones of Emma Frost. There was usually 5 of them, but throughout the series, 2 of them have died for various reasons, except now in the current storyline when they can resurrect mutants, all 5 are back. But this takes place before that when there was just the 3 of them. Since they're always trying to be very identical to each other, just why they're all dressed the same. So they have the same powers as Emma Frost. They have telepathy, but they also have like a hive mind telepathy. So by themselves, they're nowhere near as powerful as Emma Frost. But once they all combine together, the 3 of them can be just about as powerful, if not more powerful, especially when there's all 5 of them. But that's sort of their weakness, because they always have to be together, and they kind of share each other's thoughts. They're kind of mind-linked together. So they kind of sit around and play support. They're not combat characters. So we have a tech card from them. Find mutants with Cerebro. So 2 costs, 1 attack. When recruited, clone, investigate. Investigate the sidekick stack for a card and put it in your discard pile. So that's actually awesome. You can just go ahead and search for one of those cards. Technically, you're searching for mutants, but if you're playing with the other 2 decks, you could find, you could go out and find Throg if you wanted to, because he's a pedigree vendor. But yeah, that's nice. You play another tech card, which you're going to recruit. When you recruit these guys, you're going to clone and get a second copy, so you'll be able to use this more often. And then you'll be able to get more sidekicks for free, which basically are like extra little bonus characters. Alright, so our second one is we have 4 copies of Shared Thoughts, which is Covert. So when recruited, clone. Tactical Formation 22, you get 1 attack. Or Tactical Formation 33, investigate for a card with an attack icon. That's crazy. They pull any card with an attack icon. And assuming it only means attack icon there, not attack icon in their bar. But you could potentially get both of these if you play a 2-2 and a 3-3. And with her clone abilities, that would work. Plus, we had Siren has some 2 cards, and some of the other characters we have will also have some more 2 cards. And then the 3/3s, if you're playing with M, she can definitely get some of those as well. Plus, the 3 cards from Separate Cuckoos would also work well with M. Alright, so our next one is going to be 4 copies of Telepathic Warning, which is another range card. When recruited, clone. So 3 cost, 2 attack, tactical formation 22, gain 1 attack, or tactical formation 33, so same as the other card. Reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a Master Strike, you get 1 attack, and you may shuffle the villain deck. So that's actually really cool that you can see if you have a Master Strike coming up, and you can. So chances you're gonna gain 1 attack, maybe not super high. If you do, awesome. So you get potentially 3 attack there. Best case scenario though, at least you get shuffle the deck. So if it is 1, you get to shuffle it back in there. You don't have to potentially deal with that right away. If it's not, maybe you don't have to deal with whatever the top threat was, hopefully. Then her last one, her ultimate card, which you get 2 copies of, which is also a 3 cost. The Mind Wipe, which is range, and this is in their diamond form. When recruited, clone. So basically you play this, you get with the other copy, and then you don't have to worry, and no one else can get it. But you get 2 copies of it, which gives you 2 3s. So she has Tactical Formation 2/2/3. Reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a villain, you get 2 attack. So that's highly going to happen. So lots of times it should give you 4 attack. And you may fight it this turn. If you fight it, put a card from the Bystander stack on top of the villain deck. So it's actually even definitely cooler too, because you gotta play this if you pull off a tactical formation, so that makes it a little bit trickier. But if you get that, just the ability itself, you get 4 attack to fight a villain. If you can beat them, that villain's out of the way. Then you don't have to worry about them entering. You get that out of the way. You don't have to worry about ambush effects or any of that. Plus, you put a bystander there. So that means the next turn, you're just going to have a bystander being drawn instead of a villain. So it actually gives you another reprieve on the next turn as well. So it's definitely, actually it's a really good ability. A little bit harder to pull off because of the 2/2/3, so you have to plan your deck around. Lots of the ultimate cards, you don't really have to plan your deck around. You just do stuff and it happens. Alright, so now we have an X-Force character. So you have 4 copies of this. This is Shatterstar. Yeah, so this is again his Messiah Complex costume, not his original team or his current version. But we have Strive for Greatness. So Shatterstar's abilities are basically, he's just a really good combatant. He can also send vibro shocks through his blades. Otherwise, that is just like really like peak physical human condition. He's like the ultimate type warrior. So 3 costs to recruit. When recruited, if you played an instinct, you get a clone. You play another instinct, you get another 2-star usable only to recruit heroes that cost 5 or more. So you get 4. You only need 1 more star to recruit 5. But it has to be someone higher. Which is, it's kind of neat though, because it helps you get some higher cost cards, and you can't just use it for whatever. Definitely interesting. So we have 5 copies of Gladiator's Blades. So another instinct works well. You just instinct clone, instinct draw a card. Fight for your life, fight for your freedom, fight for your destiny. This is his 5 cost card, which works well with his other one. So he gets 2. And then he has his. Oh, it's 4 and 4 because he has the clone ability. What am I thinking? So you have another 4 copies of this one. Bioelectrical Surge, which is a ranged. When recruited with the range, you get a clone. And then Tactical Formation 55, which I don't think we've seen yet. But there's a bunch of 5 cards you can get here and there. So you get +1. So this one's not really that good, in my opinion. 5 costs for 2 isn't good. 5 costs for 3, potentially 3, again, isn't really that good. Yeah, when you recruit them, you can get another one, so you're going to pull it off a little bit easier. But 3 attack for 5 isn't... If it had +2, I would like it a little bit nicer. Especially because it's ranged, and if you're using his stuff, he only has 1 ranged. And then currently out of all the other characters, we have 1 Richter card that has ranged, a couple Richter cards, so he works well with Richter, which makes sense, because they're like best friends / a couple. And then we have the 1, yeah, so 2 or 3 Richter cards and 1 Cuckoo, but none of them are 5 costs, so they don't really contribute to that as well. So it's alright. Not every card can be the best. And they have 2 copies of Gene Splice Creations, another instinct. So when recruited with the X-Factor, or X-Force character, you get a clone. So in this deck, there's only 2 of them, so if you added them in place of one of the other characters, this isn't going to hit as often. But if you threw them in a full set of X-Force characters, so like Wolverine and Cable and everything, definitely awesome. So 5 for 2, which I just said is not really good. But if you get that clone ability, you get the second one, so you have 2 of them sitting around, playing 1 ranged and 1 instinct to Shatter the Mastermind. So we've had 2 other cards that have Shatter the Mastermind. 1 costs 7, 1 costs 8. But they had no other bonuses on them for the attack. So this costs 5, so it's cheaper. The fact is you're going to clone, which means you'll at least have 1 other instinct card in your deck. If you get the clone version of it. So that helps as well. And then you can, so at bare minimum, worst case is you play this card, you're doing 2 damage, which is not good. Best case, you can, or good case, you can Shatter the Mastermind. Best case is you play a range card and an instinct card, and then you play both copies of this because you have both. Because if you can do your clone and get both copies, and you Shatter the Mastermind twice. So if you're fighting like Thanos, who I know has 24, all of a sudden now he's at 12, then he's down to 6. And if you play both of them, you already have 4 attack right there. So you have 4 of the 6 to take out Thanos. So you only, and out of that, you got, assuming you already played a ranged and instant card before that, to activate Shatter twice. Actually, you only need to play 1 ranged, 1 ranged, 1 to get both times, is the second one to activate. But yeah, you assume 1 of those 2, you don't have to have 2 other attacks. If you take out Thanos, like, with one hit without having a lot of stuff. And I mean, that's where you could play this as a range, and right there you have your 2. Plus, if you had some of your 5s, you could get access to them, or this one has 2. Draw a card, which would help you out. So a bunch of good combos for this. It's actually pretty solid for an ultimate. And our last hero is going to be the last X-Force character, who does not have the clone, so you have 5 copies of this, which is Grim Tracker for Warpath. James Proudstar. I gotta read one more thing on Shatterstar card. I didn't read this. So, the bottom, his flavor text, I love this. He's Longshot's son, but he's also kind of his father. Cloning and time traveler get complicated. So Shatterstar is really weird in that, because he comes from an alternate dimension where he's a warrior combatant. And then, but he's also, like, they found out, like, so, like, in the one thing, he kind of ends up sort of becoming Longshot's dad, or he's, like, a clone, or is, like, he, like, something to become Longshot's dad. I don't know if he's like biologically his dad, or if like Longshot's a clone of him. And then it's like the opposite. It's like then his later form becomes a clone of Longshot, or he's his son. It's really messed up, but it's weird, but it's kind of interesting. Also, Shatterstar is one of the few. I know he's in a gay or homosexual like relationship, at least at some point with I think Richter. But I'm not sure if he's just that or if he's bisexual. But he's one of the few characters that isn't straight, let's say. Just kind of interesting. They don't spend a ton of time exploring that in these comic books. Which, here or there. I mean, if you like that stuff, you like reading about that type of stuff in relationships, it's cool, but like they're also action X-Men comics, so you don't want to spend too much time on that. But you could argue Cyclops, Emma Frost, Jean Grey, Wolverine spend a lot of time on relationships as well. So, hit or miss, I guess. Anyhow, back to Warpath. James Proudstar. Not Apache. He's not an Apache, but he is of an Indian descent. Heightened senses, super strength. He can fly when he wants to. It's kind of a weird thing he gained later on in the comics, and you don't see him using it that often. So he has a 2-cost card, does 1 damage. Choose a number 1 or more, investigate for a card of that cost. The most dangerous pair of people, specifically Apocalypse, Onslaught, Dark Phoenix, the Sentry. That's crazy that he puts the Sentry in there. This card is ridiculous, in my opinion. So, for 2 costs, you can investigate potentially for any card in your entire deck. Granted, you have to say the number before you look for it. So if you want one of your higher powered cards, you have to know if it's one of the top 2 cards of your deck. But with so many other investigates, or other cards and other sets that have, like, especially with X Factor here, or X Force, I keep messing with it. The X Force is in the Dark City set. If you bought that to get more, you have like Nightcrawler, and you have other characters that, like Cable, I think, has Teleport, which can put cards back on top of your deck. So you could really plan this out very well, and it's not a guessing game. You can just be like this. Worst case is you say, say 2, you're trying to draw some of his cards, and you don't find them, you at least rearrange your deck. So, worst case, that's what you get out of it. He has 5 copies of Endless Endurance. It's a strength card. When you draw a new hand of cards at the end of the turn, draw 2 extra cards. So, 5 costs for 2 extra cards seems pricey. But 2 extra cards can make a lot of difference. I guess it would have been neat if it had some other extra ability, like a +1 attack or recruit. Just something maybe. Or maybe draw a card this turn and then get an extra 2 next turn. That would have been cool as well. But not bad. Especially because it's uncommon, only costs 2. You have 3 copies of this. Dangerous Maneuver. Covert. So he has, I think, 3 different colors so far. Cost 2. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it costs 0, you may KO it. So he gets rid of them cheapy cards so you can get his other ones better. And then Tactical Formation. 2/5. You get +3 attack. So, yeah, 2 costs to just possibly KO, or, again, revealing the top of your deck. If it costs 0, you can KO it. So if you play this, reveal the top of your deck. 0, get rid of it if you don't want it. If you need it, that's fine. But then if it's not, and you're like, oh, it's a 3-cost card, you play his other card, say 3, now you can know what to investigate for. And then you can possibly use your team formation. And then his ultimate is Superhuman Senses. 7 cost, 3 damage. Again, itself not that good. But whenever you reveal or look at any number of cards from your deck this turn, you get +1. Just drawing or discarding a card from your deck does not count. But he has his 1 card to reveal, so his Investigate, which lets him look at. Let's choose a number 1 or more, investigate investigate for a card of that cost. So he's going to get +1 right there. Because it's not whatever you played before. It's like whenever you do it, you're going to gain extra attack for this card. So it's actually really cool. And they're just kicking the crap out of random. Yeah, so potentially this could become, especially with all the investigate cards in here, this could get really powerful. Yeah, just checking to see they don't specify. Alright, so there is our last hero. Alright, so before we get to the villains, let's look at our special sidekicks. So you have 2 copies of each of these. So here we have another X-Force character. So what's also nice about these, because then they can count towards some other bonuses. They also have the classes. So the original sidekicks were just gray heroes. They didn't give you any team abilities. They didn't do anything else. The Petty Avengers were all Avengers, but they had different classes. So that's what was really nice about adding them in there. Because then you could potentially have other combinations, other Avenger cards, or other different classes to utilize off of. And then these ones work the same way. Then you can get some of these other different X-Men, X-Team abilities. So we have Boom Boom. She has a really fun ability. So they're always going to cost 2, no matter what. It says, I'm going to be zooming on this one a little bit here. So it says, choose one of her nicknames. If you choose Time Bomb, which was her New Mutant's name originally, you get +1 attack, and put this card on top of your deck. So you only get 1 attack, but you get to use it again the next turn. If you pick Boomer, which was her original X-Factor name, or X-Force name, sorry, you get +3. And put this on the bottom of your sidekick stack. So that's like a normal intended effect. You get 3 attack, and it goes back to the deck. But if you play Meltdown, which is her later name, you get +4, but then you have to KO this and gain a wound. So 3 is really good, and then it goes back to stack. You don't get to use it. If you really need that 1 extra attack, you can. It's a little bit more reckless. It KOs it, so nobody gets to use it anymore, and you gain a wound. But if you're playing with M, her penance ability might be helpful with that, or there might be other characters that can use that wound, so that might be worth the extra attack. Or you could get this out of the sidekick deck to draw other sidekicks. So Boom Boom's mutant power, she can create little time bombs. She can choose how long they explode, so she can basically, when she creates her bomb, she can be 10 seconds or 5 seconds. She can time out how long she wants to have her bombs go off. Alright, then we have Darwin, who's an X-Force, X-Factor investigator. His super ability is basically his superpower is adaptability. You can change to whatever he needs to adapt to survive. His story is very interesting. He was, from the time the original X-Men got captured on Krakoa, and before they got the giant-sized X-Men team, which is Wolverine, Colossus, all them, there was a small team of mutants in between there that tried to save them. Most of them died, and then Professor X wiped everyone's memories, and one of them was Cyclops' brother, Vulcan, who's been in another set before, and then Darwin was another member of that team who survived because of his abilities. So now he's came back. Now he's an X-Men character. So his ability is, if the most recent other hero you played this turn has a star icon, you gain 2. If it has an attack, you gain 2. If it has both, you gain both, and put this back on the sidekick stack. So basically, you get extra 2 attack or 2 recruit. These guys aren't meant to be overly powerful, but they're 2 costs. So what are you really expecting? Another X-Factor investigation character is Layla Miller, whose ability is, as far as I've ever seen, has been described as she knows stuff. So it's sort of like she's a weird precog. But she ends up dating. She starts off as just a kid in the series. And she ties into the House of M series and things like that. She's working with Jamie Madrox's Multiple Man. Then at some point she grows up. I don't know how this happens or what happens, but her and Multiple Man get trapped in the future. That's where they both get the M above their eye, kind of like Bishop has, branding them as mutants. Yeah, so it's X-Men characters. There's a lot of backstory. So choose a team, investigate a card from that team, then put this on the bottom of your Sidekicks deck. So one plus you get to investigate. Then we have an X-Men characters. We need some more X-Men. We have Prodigy, who is one of the new X-Men, which were like the new mutants, but they're the new X-Men type of thing. So his special ability is basically what it's going to kind of say. He can copy anyone, anything he can see, essentially. Like if he, he can learn. He can't use other people's mutant abilities, but like if he sees someone doing stuff, he can do it too. He can learn knowledge, kind of like photogenic reflexes and memory. It's kind of like an entire combination of that. So he has, play this card as a copy of another hero you played this turn that costs 6 or less. So you can't copy most ultimates. This card costs both. This also counts as a tech and a hero class that you copy. Which is basically a copy of another card, which is really cool. So another one of these new mutant characters we're going to get is Rockslide. Which sucks that we don't get his best buddy Anole as well. But maybe we'll get him in a later set. So he has Strength. He has Shatter a Villain. That's it. It's all you need. But still, having a 2 cost to eventually be able to shatter a villain when you need it is really, really good. Then we have some more X-Men. We have Rusty Fire Fist Collins. So Rusty, and then the next character, who is, I'm going to show up, Skids. Rusty and Skids were way back X-Men allies during when they were becoming when the original team became X-Factor, and they're before the New Mutants and all that. So they never properly became X-Men for a long time, but they were always like around and this and that. They're definitely interesting characters. They're usually together. So Rusty and Skids. Fire Fist is kind of funny because I honestly don't think he was ever called Fire Fist until the Deadpool movie, and I think that's they called him in there, and now he's adapting that. But he has flame powers. So it gives you 1 attack. Investigate your deck for a card that costs 0, KO or discard it. So it's not bad if you need that. And then Skid's ability is she gets you 3 recruit. If any player would gain a wound, you may discard this card instead. If you do, draw 2 cards. She has a deflecting shield that she can put around herself. So, it's called Skids because things just skid off of her. Because it used to be like really tight on her body. So basically, if someone would try and touch her, even like to she learn to control it, like they just slide off. So that is the end of our heroes. So yeah, you can add all of these characters in there, give you a little bit extra boost. Then the last 3 cards before I start the villain, I just want to go over the special Bystanders. So these guys have special abilities when you rescue them. So you have Private Investigator. I believe this is one of the artists or creators of the game who put himself in. I'm not sure specifically. But it says, when you rescue this bystander, choose recruit or attack, investigate a card for that icon. We have the opera singer. Of course, this might be one of the people as well. Oops. And then we have, when you rescue this bystander, shatter a villain in the bank or shadow a hero in the HQ under the bank. So very specific. But, you know, you can't argue with a free bonus. And then Cloning Technician, that's a Predator X behind her, who likes to attack and eat mutants. When you rescue this bystander, clone the next hero you recruit this turn who has a printed cost of 3 or less. So it's awesome. You can pass that to other characters with that one card. Alright, so now we're going to jump over to the villains.